Your back hurts. Maybe it's been hurting all day. That low ache that sits right at the base of your spine and radiates down when you stand too long. Your hands are tired. Your fingers don't bend as easily as they used to. The knuckles are stiff, swollen on some days, and even holding a knife to chop an onion feels like more effort than it should. Your knees protest every time you stand up from a chair, every time you walk from the counter to the stove and back again. And by the end of the day, when dinner time rolls around, the thought of standing in the kitchen for an hour, juggling multiple pots and pans, chopping vegetables, stirring this, checking that, it's exhausting before you even begin. So maybe you skip it. Maybe you heat up a frozen dinner. Maybe you make toast and call it good enough. Maybe you tell yourself you're just not hungry anyway. But here's what I want you to know. You still deserve a hot, home-cooked meal. You deserve food that tastes good, that smells good, that makes you feel cared for. You deserve the satisfaction of eating something you made with your own hands. And you don't have to suffer for it. You don't have to stand for an hour. You don't have to chop 10 ingredients. You don't have to wash 5 different pots. This one-pot chicken dinner I'm about to show you takes 10 minutes of your active time. 10 minutes. That's it. The rest of the time, you sit down. You rest. You let the pot do the work while you read your book, watch your show, put your feet up. And 40 minutes later, you have a complete meal. Tender, juicy chicken, fluffy rice, vegetables, all in one dish. All cooked together so the flavors blend, and everything tastes like you spent hours in the kitchen. But you didn't. You were smart. You worked with your body, not against it. And that's what we're doing today. Let me tell you why one-pot cooking matters, especially now, especially as our bodies change. When you're younger, when you're 30 or 40, cooking is just something you do. You stand at the counter for an hour, no problem. You chop a pile of vegetables, your hands don't complain. You lift heavy pots. You bend to pull things from the oven. You juggle 3 burners at once, and your body keeps up. You don't think about it. But when you're older, when you're 65, 70, 80, everything changes. Your body has earned rest. It's worked hard for decades. And now it's telling you, through aches and stiffness and fatigue, that it needs a different approach. The problem is, traditional cooking wasn't designed for aging bodies. It demands that you stand for long periods. It requires repetitive motions like chopping and stirring that aggravate arthritis. It involves lifting heavy pots full of water or food. It means bending to reach low cabinets, stretching to high shelves, walking back and forth across the kitchen dozens of times. And after all that physical effort, you still have to wash multiple dishes. More standing, more bending, more strain on your back and hands. So what happens? Cooking stops being enjoyable. It becomes a chore you dread, and that's when you start avoiding it. You start living on whatever's easiest. Frozen dinners, canned soup, crackers and cheese. Not because you don't want good food, not because you don't know how to cook, but because traditional cooking demands more than your body wants to give. And there's no shame in that. Your body isn't failing you. It's just different now. But here's the beautiful thing. One-pot cooking changes the entire equation. You get all the flavor, all the nutrition, all the satisfaction of a real home-cooked meal, but your body pays a fraction of the price. Instead of standing for an hour, you stand for 10 minutes, spread out in small bursts. Instead of chopping 10 ingredients, you use maybe 2, or you use frozen pre-chopped vegetables that taste just as good. Instead of washing 5 pots, you wash 1. Instead of constant monitoring and stirring, you set it and forget it. The pot does 90% of the work. Heat and time and a tight-fitting lid transform simple ingredients into something delicious. And you rest. You conserve your energy. You take care of your body while still feeding it well. That's not cutting corners. That's wisdom.
So let's talk about what you need for this meal. And I want to be clear up front. Everything I'm about to list has options. If your hands hurt too much to do a certain step, I've got a workaround. If a particular ingredient is hard to find or too expensive, I've got a substitute. This is flexible. This works for your life, your body, your budget. Here's what we're making. 1 pot chicken and rice with carrots and onion. Simple, classic, delicious. Here's your shopping list. 4 chicken thighs. I'm using thighs, not breasts, for a few reasons. They're cheaper, usually about half the price. They're more forgiving, meaning even if you cook them a little longer than you meant to, they stay juicy instead of drying out like breasts do. And they have more flavor, because they have a little fat and they're cooked with the bone in and skin on, which adds richness to the rice. Now, if you really prefer chicken breasts, you can use those. Or if handling raw chicken is difficult for you, if your hands shake or you worry about food safety, buy a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store. You know, those pre-cooked ones in the hot case for about $6. Take it home, shred the meat off, and use that instead. You'll add it later in the cooking process, but it works perfectly. 1.5 cups of long-grain white rice. That's the regular rice you see in every grocery store. Not instant, not brown, just regular white rice. 1 onion. Now, here's your first accommodation option. If chopping an onion is hard on your hands, if the knife feels heavy or your grip isn't strong, buy a bag of frozen diced onions. They're in the freezer section, usually about $2 for a bag that lasts multiple meals. They taste exactly the same as fresh once they're cooked. Nobody will know the difference. 2 carrots. Or, same thing, buy a bag of frozen sliced carrots, whatever's easier for your hands. 3 cups of chicken broth. You can buy this in a carton or can, or you can make it from bouillon cubes, those little flavor cubes you dissolve in hot water. Either way works. For seasonings, you need 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, salt, black pepper, and 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil or olive oil. That's it. That's the whole list. 9 ingredients, most of which you probably already have in your pantry. The total cost is about $10 to $12, and this makes 4 servings. So you eat one tonight, and you've got 3 more meals already done for the rest of the week. You can't beat that. Now, before we start cooking, let me tell you what's about to happen so you can plan your energy. You're going to stand at the stove for about 10 minutes total, but it's broken up. 2 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 3 minutes later. In between, you sit down. Then the pot cooks on its own for 25 minutes while you do absolutely nothing. You don't stir, you don't check, you just let it be. Then at the end, you stand for 1 minute to serve it. That's the whole physical demand. Totally manageable. So get your ingredients out and set them on the counter near the stove. If bending to get a pot from a low cabinet is hard, ask someone to help you get it out ahead of time, or store your most used pot on the counter so it's always accessible. You need a large pot with a lid. A Dutch oven is perfect, but any big pot works as long as it has a lid that fits tightly. Ready? Let's cook.
Turn your stove burner to medium-high heat. Put the pot on the burner and add 2 tablespoons of oil. Now sit down. Set a timer for 2 minutes. The oil needs to heat up, and you don't need to stand there watching it. Go sit in a chair within sight of the stove so you can keep an eye on things, but take the weight off your feet. When the timer goes off, the oil is ready. Stand up and take your 4 chicken thighs. Pat them dry with a paper towel if they're wet, just a quick dab. This helps them brown nicely. Sprinkle both sides with a little salt and pepper. Now place them in the hot oil, skin side down. You should hear a sizzle. That's good. That means it's working. Now here's the key. Don't touch them, don't move them, don't flip them yet. Just let them sit there and brown. And you? Sit down again. Set a timer for 5 minutes. This is the beauty of one-pot cooking. The food doesn't need you hovering. It needs heat and time. So rest. Read a page of your book. Check your phone. Look out the window. Just relax. After 5 minutes, the timer goes off. Stand up and flip the chicken pieces over using tongs or a fork. The side that was down should be golden brown. If it's not, that's okay. It'll still taste fine. Now, while the chicken is sitting there with the other side down, add your onion. If you're using fresh, add the chopped onion around the sides of the chicken, not on top. If you're using frozen, just sprinkle it around. Let it cook for 3 minutes. You can sit for this if you want, or if 3 minutes feels manageable, you can stand and watch. Some people find it satisfying to see the onion soften and turn translucent. Up to you. After 3 minutes, here's where it all comes together. Add the rice directly into the pot, spreading it around the chicken. Add the carrots, either fresh sliced or frozen. Sprinkle in the garlic powder, the thyme, a teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of black pepper. Now give everything one big stir, just mixing the rice and vegetables and seasonings together. This takes about 30 seconds. Then pour in the 3 cups of chicken broth. It should cover everything. Turn the heat up to high and let it come to a boil. This takes about 2 minutes. You'll see bubbles breaking the surface. Once it's boiling, turn the heat down to low as it goes, and put the lid on the pot. Make sure the lid is on tight. Now, and this is important, walk away. Set a timer for 25 minutes and go sit down. Go sit in your living room. Go lie down if you need to. This is your rest time. The pot has everything it needs. The low heat is gently cooking the rice, steaming the vegetables, and making the chicken fall off the bone tender. The lid traps all the steam so nothing dries out. You don't stir, you don't peek, you don't check. If you lift the lid, you let steam escape and the rice won't cook evenly. So trust the process. Let it do its thing. This is 25 minutes of pure rest for you. When the timer goes off, turn off the burner, but don't open the lid yet. Let it sit, still covered, for 5 more minutes. This is called resting, and it lets the rice absorb any last bit of liquid and become perfectly fluffy. Set another timer if you need to, or just keep track.
After 5 minutes, now you can lift the lid. And here's the moment that makes it all worth it. You'll see steam rising. You'll smell garlic and thyme and chicken. The rice will be fluffy and cooked through. The chicken will be golden and tender. The carrots will be soft. Everything will look and smell like you worked for hours. But you didn't. You worked for 10 minutes and the pot did the rest. Take a fork and fluff the rice a little, just stirring it gently. Taste it. If the rice is still a little crunchy, put the lid back on, turn the heat to low for 5 more minutes with a quarter cup of water added. But 99% of the time, it's perfect. Serve yourself a plate, a chicken thigh, a big scoop of rice and vegetables. Sit down at your table and eat.
Now let me tell you about variations, because once you master this basic method, you can change the flavors endlessly and never get bored. Let's say you want Mexican-inspired. Use the exact same method, same ingredients, but change the spices. Instead of garlic powder and thyme, use 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of chili powder, and half a teaspoon of paprika. Add a can of drained black beans and a cup of frozen corn along with the rice. Suddenly, you've got a completely different meal. Want Italian? Keep the garlic powder, but swap the thyme for 1 teaspoon of dried oregano and 1 teaspoon of dried basil. Add a tablespoon of tomato paste stirred into the broth before you pour it in. Throw in some sliced zucchini instead of carrots. Now it tastes like an Italian grandma made it. Want comfort food, Southern style? Use Cajun seasoning instead of the thyme, about 2 teaspoons. Add a diced bell pepper along with the onion. Add a cup of frozen okra if you like it. That's a Louisiana-style one-pot that'll make you feel warm inside. The method never changes. It's always the same steps. You're just playing with the flavors, and that keeps it interesting week after week. Let's talk about leftovers, because this is where one-pot meals really shine. You've made 4 servings, right? So unless you have company, you've got extras. Here's what you do. Let the leftovers cool down, then put them in a container and refrigerate. They'll last 4 days. When you want to eat them again, you have a few options. You can microwave a portion for 2 minutes, covered, and it tastes just as good. Or, and this is my favorite, you can turn it into something new. Take a portion of the chicken and rice, shred the chicken into smaller pieces, add a can of diced tomatoes and some extra broth. Heat it in a pot, and suddenly you've got chicken and rice soup. Or take a portion, put it in a baking dish, sprinkle shredded cheese on top, and bake it at 350 for 15 minutes. Now it's a chicken rice casserole. One meal becomes 3 different meals. That's smart cooking. That's making your effort stretch as far as possible, so you cook once and eat well all week. Now I want to address something that might be going through your mind. Maybe you're thinking, using frozen vegetables, using rotisserie chicken, using bouillon cubes instead of homemade broth. That's cheating. That's not real cooking. That's taking shortcuts. And I want to stop that thought right now because it's not true. Real cooking isn't about suffering. It's not about making everything from scratch no matter how much pain it causes your body. Real cooking is about using the ingredients and tools you have available to create something nourishing and delicious. Your grandmother cooked in one pot. She didn't have 10 burners and fancy gadgets. She had 1 stove, 1 pot, and whatever ingredients she could afford, and she made magic happen. She understood that the goal wasn't to prove how hard she could work. The goal was to feed her family well with the energy and resources she had. That's wisdom. And you're carrying on that wisdom when you use frozen vegetables because they save your hands. When you use pre-cooked chicken because it saves your energy. When you use 1 pot because it saves your back and your time. You're not cutting corners. You're being intelligent. You're working with your body instead of against it. And the result? The food on your plate is just as good. Nobody eating this meal will say, "Oh, she used frozen carrots. This is terrible." They'll say, "This is delicious," because it is.
There's something else I want you to think about. Cooking doesn't have to be a solitary activity. One of the reasons people stop cooking as they get older is because it feels lonely. You're standing in the kitchen by yourself, making food for one person, and it can feel a little sad. But it doesn't have to be that way. Make a double batch of this recipe. It's the exact same effort. You just double the ingredients and use a bigger pot. Then call your neighbor. Call your friend from church. Call your sister. Say, "I'm making 1 pot chicken tomorrow at 4. Want to come over?" And while the pot is cooking, while you're both sitting down during that 25-minute hands-off time, you visit, you talk, you catch up. And then when it's done, you eat together. Or if they can't come over, you portion out half and take it to them. Ring their doorbell, hand them a container and say, "I made extra." Suddenly, cooking isn't lonely. It's connection. It's care. It's love in a container. And that's what kitchens were always meant for. Not isolating you in front of a stove for hours, but bringing people together over good food. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Your body has changed. That's not failure. That's life. You've earned the right to make things easier on yourself. And one-pot cooking gives you a way to keep making real, delicious, home-cooked food without demanding more than your body wants to give. 10 minutes of your time. One pot. Ingredients you can get at any grocery store. And a meal that tastes like you care about yourself. Because you do. You deserve to eat well. You deserve food that makes you feel good. You deserve the satisfaction of sitting down to a hot, home-cooked dinner that you made with your own hands, even if those hands are tired, even if they hurt. This is possible. This is doable. This is yours. So make this recipe this week. Write down the ingredients. Go to the store or ask someone to pick them up for you. Set aside 40 minutes when you're not rushing anywhere and cook. Stand for 10 minutes in small bursts. Sit for 25 minutes while magic happens in the pot. And then eat. Taste what you created. Feel the warmth of it, the comfort of it, and know that you did this. You took care of yourself, and that's something to be proud of every single time.